Welcome to Teachers in Real Estate Podcast, where I'm your host, Jackie Durbin. Guys, I've transformed my teaching experience into a six-figure income, and I'm here to guide you through that journey. Teaching lays a solid foundation for real estate, but let's be real, it's not always smooth sailing. Some days are tough, clients can be challenging, but your educational background equips you for real estate success. With the right mindset and support system, you can achieve remarkable success. Whether you're exploring real estate as a part-time gig or you're diving in full-time, the tools I will share will empower you to reach your goals. Join me for this journey. This podcast is tailor-made for teachers venturing into real estate and those already mastering those dual careers. So grab your notebook, your pencil, and let's embark on this adventure together. Get ready. We're about to begin. Well, good day. I was going to say good morning because it's morning time when I'm recording, but you may be listening to this in the afternoon or in the evening. So I'm just going to say good day. Guys, I am so excited and so just like jazzed up for season 3. If you are a first-time listener, welcome. I'm so glad that you have found this podcast, Teachers in Real Estate, and I'm so excited for you to begin here in season 3. Now, if this is the first episode that you've listened to, just know that there are 2 full seasons of content that you can always go back and listen to. Season 1 was, I think, about 50 or so episodes, and then I did another 50 in season 2. So I'm super excited for season 3, where I'm really I think the theme for this season is let's get real. I feel like there's so many things in society that tell us that there's like this like get rich quick, right? Like, oh, do this and you'll get rich quick, or do this on social media and you'll become an influencer, or do this. And I'm just like, you know what? If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. Like seriously, like I'm on social media, right? Like I feel like people like me. I don't know. I mean, I have some followers. I get some likes on stuff. People comment, they message me. But here's the thing, guys. Anything that is going to make you successful is going to require certain things, okay? So we're talking real estate, we're talking teaching, and I really just want to be real in this first episode of season 1. I want to go ahead and give you a little bit of background knowledge. I want you to really feel like you know me personally. So my name's Jackie Durbin. If this is the first time you've listened, welcome. I'm so glad that you found this podcast. And my hope is that it will give you some drive, some passion, some motivation. I want to inspire someone who's listening right now to know that there is a way to supplement your income. So a little bit about me. I'm born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. Love it. I'm from Louisville. Like whenever people are like, where did you grow up? And I'm like, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. And they're like, yes, you are. And I'm like, was there a question? And they were like, well, you say it right. I'm like, yeah. It's not Louisville. It's not Louisville. It's Louisville. Like you kind of have to sound like you got something in your throat. But anyhow, growing up, my mother was a teacher, and I remember always like going in her room and like in her classroom at the end of the day, and she had one of those like overhead projectors that like had the crank, and it was like the plastic, and you had like the cool markers, and like I just remember growing up always wanting to be in charge, right? Like I was the youngest in my family. I'm the baby by like 10 years. And so I never really felt like I was in charge. Maybe I was, I don't know. But anyhow, I just remember always thinking, I want to be in charge of something. Like I want to be in control. I want to, be the person who makes the decisions. And so going into teaching, watching my mother be an amazing teacher that her students loved, I was like, wow, this is a really cool job. And then as I went through my educational career, there were so many amazing teachers that I had that I was like, wow, if and when I become a teacher, this is the type of teacher that I want to be. And then on the flip side, of course, I had those teachers that I was like, wow, when I become a teacher, I am not going to be like that person. Like, that's just not very nice. And so I feel like teaching was always kind of like ingrained in me. Number one, it's a service job. You're giving back to your community. You're creating opportunities. You really have an impact on people, which I always loved. I laugh and I tell people I'm Christian, but I cuss a little. I like to keep God busy. But at the end of the day, I feel like all of us have a calling to do something to help others, right? We want to create a greater good. So going into teaching just seemed like the thing that I was going to do. Like, I got to decorate a classroom. I got to build like all these things. I got to be in charge, kind of, sort of, with a district and a principal who tells you what to do. But at the end of the day, I always felt fulfilled with teaching. I never thought that I would ever leave education. I knew in my mind that every single day that I walked in the classroom, I was making an impact on the students in front of me, whether it was, giving them the knowledge that they needed in order to be successful, or, teaching them how to be good humans. Because let's just say it right now, guys, we have a generation of kids that they really don't know how to be nice, and I think that's one of the things as an adult, or even just anyone, right, who is around children, you really do have to mimic the behavior that you want them to give to others, right? So like if you're a jerk, guess what they're going to do? They're going to be a jerk. If you're modeling service behavior and treating people with equality and, just being an overall good person, then guess what? They're going to do that too. But anyhow, I love teaching. Like, after nearly 2 decades, I look back and I think about all of the students that I got to be a part of their education career, right? Like, I really do feel that for the most part, I don't want to like toot my own horn, but I feel like for the most part, if I had not been in their life, things may have turned out differently for them. The first couple of years that I taught in a Title I school in a urban community, very diverse community. I was the minority, as a white girl, I was the minority. And I learned a lot about things that I didn't know about, I grew up in a Catholic home, right? I went to a Catholic school. I went to an all girl Catholic high school. I went to a Catholic college, university. So I was kind of like in this bubble as far as I really hadn't experienced many things in life. I hadn't experienced struggle. Don't get me wrong, like, I'm not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. My parents, like, we didn't have like this monster house, but I never really remember my childhood thinking, wow, this is tough. Like, I just remember always feeling very secure, very safe, like all those things. And when I first started teaching, those first 3 or 4 years when I was teaching, I I finally saw the light. Wow, I was really blessed. Like, I had both parents at home. I never had to worry about where I was going to live. I never had to worry about food. My basic needs were met alongside of a lot of my wants were given to me. And so when I went into teaching, I really think that if you've had that type of upbringing similar to me, you really it's almost like the curtain is pulled back, right? Like the Wizard of Oz, right? Like, wow, there is a whole nother world out there. And now I need to learn how to, number one, understand it, but also respect it and create an environment that helps these students who come from a different background to really flourish. My second year of teaching, I was teaching third grade, and in my classroom, there were 10 different languages. So understanding different culture became a big part of my teaching career. And I'm saying this not because, like, just to give you like a whole story, but everything that happened in my teaching career gave me tools and understanding that helped me in my real estate business. Had I not been in a community, right, teaching where there was a lot of diversity, there was many mixed cultures, I really had to kind of like put my privilege to the side. And I say that not because like I had this amazing life growing up, but I did have certain privilege. I didn't have to worry about basic needs, and there is an entire world out there that they do. And so I think having that well-rounded background while I was teaching really helped me to understand how to service other people once it became me as a real estate agent, right? Now, in my last like 3 or 4 years of teaching, my clientele, as I like to say it, changed. I had very wealthy families. I had very blessed, kids in my classroom that, like, whatever thing that they needed, they were able to be given, right? If they were struggling in a subject, their parents had the monetary ability to hire a tutor. They probably had a library that was pretty extensive in their house, where they had access to any book that they wanted. They had a very stable home, where they could rely on their parents. So the beginning of my teaching career, the end of my teaching career, really taught me something. And what it taught me was, regardless of what you have, regardless of what you've gone through, every single person has the goal of being treated with the utmost respect, right? Everyone wants to feel important. Everyone wants to feel that they're valued. And having been in both of those spots, one thing that I can tell you is, you treat the kids the exact same. Nothing changes. It doesn't matter if you are, teaching kids that they're coming in dirty, or that they're coming in like a Rolls Royce when they come through the car rider line, right? You treat everyone the same. Now, taking that mindset of how we treat people, in teaching, right, and putting that into real estate, I think that's one of the things that really gives educators a leg up when we get into real estate, right? So you get your real estate license and you're ready to go out and like sell real estate, because I'm going to tell you right now, commission checks are nice. Now you have to work for them. They don't just hand those out like at the grocery counter, okay? But when you're firstly getting licensed, a lot of real estate agents, I know this was true for myself, you think to yourself, okay, I want to be a luxury agent. I want to sell $1 million homes. And the reason why is because, guess what? I can sell one or two, and I've made my teaching salary, right? I mean, if you sell $1 million home, average commission is between 2 and 3%. That's $30,000. Now, granted, like, there's still like, you have to pay taxes on it, because you don't pay taxes on it when you get it. You have to pay a broker split. If you're on a team, you may have a team split. You've got all of these different things that come out. But at the end of the day, I thought to myself, wow, if I can sell two $1 million homes, that's my teaching salary, right? 50 to 60,000. That was like my beginning teaching salary. And so I got to thinking, like, wow, okay, I can do this. I can do this. And a lot of people, when they get into real estate, they want that goal, but they're nervous, right? Maybe they're hung up because maybe they don't live in $1 million home. I can tell you right now, I do not live in $1 million home, right? But living in $1 million home doesn't make you more prone to getting $1 million clients. Now, I will tell you this, people gravitate to people who have confidence. Okay. It doesn't matter how long you've been licensed. There's lots of people that are like, oh, I've only been licensed for like so and so. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long you've been licensed. It doesn't matter how many homes that you've sold. Now, don't hate me, okay? So like, if you're shaking your head or like, in the car, let me get to my point, okay? These things don't matter. What matters is your confidence in your craft, your ability to reach out when you have questions, right? Like, don't always have to be the smartest person in the room. And overall, it's how you treat someone. So we had an agent who is on our team. She was a part-time agent, right? She was doing her full-time thing, and then also a part-time agent. She did an open house on one of our listings, and she picked up $1 million client. And she was nervous. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I've never sold $1 million home. I don't know what to do." And I'm like, "Girl, it doesn't matter. It can be $100,000 house, or it could be $1 million house. You're going to treat the client the exact same way. You're treating them with respect. You're giving them validation. You are being an advocate for them. And when you have questions, you ask someone who knows more than you, right? Like, you have to be able to be humble. Being in real estate is not good for people who are very egotistical, right? If you have a huge ego, guess what? You might struggle in real estate. And the reason why is because you're really going to rub people the wrong way. You're not going to build great relationships. And people are kind of going to be like, I don't know if I want to work with them. Not because they lack success, not because they lack knowledge, but because their attitude's kind of off. Like, think to yourself, when you were teaching that first year, right? You didn't know anything. I know I didn't know anything. I thought I knew a lot. I was like, yes, I have a master's degree in teaching. I can do this. No, guys, I knew nothing, right? But what I did know was I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I have an entire school of experienced teachers that when I have a question, I'm okay to go to. Now, if I had an ego about me and I'm like, no, girl, I have a master's degree. I got a 4.0. I scored, in the top 5% of my praxis. I got this. Do you think they would want to help me? No. And do you think that I would have had the type of impact on my students if I came into the classroom with that type of attitude? Heck no. Absolutely not. Like I go back and I think like why was I successful in teaching? And I think the reason why I was successful is because I was a lifetime learner, right? We learned that in education. That was like a buzzword. And if it's not a buzzword anywhere, I'm sorry. I've been out for a little bit. Okay. But one of the things that we always said was, do you have are you a lifelong learner or do you have a fixed mindset? That fixed mindset, and we talk a lot about, in this podcast about mindset, but you really have to be successful in education. You have to be a lifelong learner, right? You have to realize that there's always maybe a different, better approach to what you're teaching, how you're teaching it. You're always constantly developing that craft. And that's the exact same thing in real estate. And I think that's one of the reasons why educators make such good real estate agents because we already have that idea in our head. We're good at collaborating, right? Like maybe you have like your professional learning communities there in your school. Maybe if you're teaching middle and high school, you may like work together in your like content areas, right? But the thing is, we come together and it's not a time to be like, hey, I'm the biggest, baddest, best, whatever, right? It's a time where we really come together and we're like, okay, this is how I do this. This is how I teach this content. This is how I, assess this content. How do you do it? And then we come together and what ends up happening is we create lessons, units of study, all of these different things that really are for the good of the students. And that's the exact same thing in real estate, right? When you collaborate with people on your team, in your brokerage, in your group, whatever, right? You are able to take the best parts of everyone and put it together and make it something that will withstand any market. So let's talk about the market right now, right? So I tell people all the time, if you're a teacher, you really should consider getting your real estate license. And the reason why is because number one, right? We have lots of people that we're around all the time, and it's different people all the time. We do build those long-standing relationships. Like if you're like a kindergarten, first grade teacher, right, in an elementary school, you see these students as long as they don't transfer to a different school for nearly 5 to 6 years, right? Depending on if it's kindergarten or first grade. That means you're around those parents for that long. Guys, that's a friendship. That's not just I had them for this amount of time. Like you're building relationships with these students, right? If you have, if you're in middle school, well, I know like here in Arizona, junior high is only seventh and eighth grade, but back in Kentucky, it was sixth, seventh, and eighth. But again, you have these families that you're a part of their life. You truly are, as long as you put yourself in that position. Right now, I know there are some teachers, and you may be going, girl, you don't know this girl at my school. Yes, I know there are some teachers that are really like, they come in, they do what they got to do, and then they leave and they don't build those connections. But I really do think that that's the minority of educators. I feel like, especially in my years of teaching, I really didn't come across too many of those teachers. A lot of the teachers, like they were super invested, right? Like they would go to like the kids' basketball games or like a cheerleading competition. Like that was the type of teacher that I was, at least. Like if I was invited to something, heck yeah, I want to come. I want to show you that, guess what? You have me. Like I'm here to help you. I'm here to be your cheerleader. I'm here when like there's a problem going on and you feel like you can't go to your parents. Like I'm that person, right? So being that person, having that mindset, understanding kind of like the philosophy of building relationships in education is the exact same thing that you do in real estate, right? But the fact that as a teacher, people are always coming to you, right? Like as a teacher, you're not like going out into the world and like, hey, you all should come to my school. You should be in my class. No, we don't do that. But in real estate, we have to do that. In real estate, you're like at an open house and you're like knocking on the doors to the neighbors, inviting them to come in, asking them if they have friends that like want to move in the neighborhood. Like you're doing all these things. And so if you already have like this huge kind of like group of people that you can reach out to for business, it's, I mean, I'm not going to say it's a piece of cake because it's not a piece of cake, but it does make the transition a lot easier, right? So I want to talk about like some myths. Okay. So one of the myths that I've heard about like going into real estate is that you're going to be a millionaire. Okay, guys, that's not the case. It's just not. You can Google what the average real estate agent's salary is for a year. And yeah, no, it's like, I mean, it's the same salary as a teacher. Okay. So, like, it may, I mean, depending on where you are in your career and where you are in the United States or wherever you're listening from, but like, average teacher salary is about 50,000. The average first year salary for a real estate agent is between like 30 and 40, right? So, but you have to understand though, there's the bell curve, right? So that's the beginning of it. There is a high point, right? And that happens when you are willing to put in the work. So I was talking about the market. Okay. So right now, if you're listening to this podcast around the time that it is being recorded and pushed out there, just know that like this is the hardest real estate market ever. Like in the past 40 years, like even like during 2008, 2009, when we had like everybody was losing their house foreclosures, guess what? That was not a bad real estate market. Do you know why? Because there was tons of houses for sale and they were selling for cheap. And so there was tons of investors who were buying up every single freaking house that was coming up. And like, no, like, and there was tons of money to be made, right? Because banks were like, hey, I need you to go out and like give me like a CMA or give me like an estimated value of this house. Like you could do all these different things, right? They're called REOs. And that was not a bad time. Right now, holy crud. Okay, so first of all, we have a pandemic, right? So like we can't be around anyone. And if we do, we have to wear like 7 masks and, look like a freaking astronaut, right? Because like we're worried that we're going to get sick. Not to make light of COVID, okay? But we have that, right? Then rates go super low and everybody wants to buy. Then rates go up and nobody wants to buy. In my market currently, right, in Arizona, I'm like right outside of Phoenix. There's only like 9,000 houses that are active on the market that are available for purchase. Guys, in a balanced market where buyers and sellers have the same kind of like arsenal, right, of power, you would need like 40 some thousand, like 40,000 ish. Do you know how hard that is? Number one, it's hard for buyers because they don't have enough inventory to find the house that they really want, right? Because, like, think about it. Like, think about when you bought a house. When you bought your house, you're buying like your biggest investment, right? Well, you don't want to just like be like, well, I guess this one will do. No one ever says that. They're not like, oh, this one will do. I guess I'll go spend $200,000. Okay, no, that's not how it works, right? So you're making your biggest investment. You don't want to have to settle. You're looking for something specific, right? You want something to go, wow, yes, I want to raise my family here. Or, oh, wow, yes, I want to retire here. Oh, yes, I can see, like, whatever it is, like, whatever your reasoning is. The problem now for buyers is they may not find that wow factor. They may not find something that they're like, yes, I'm ready to pull the trigger. At the same time, sellers are having a really hard time because there's not as many buyers because rates are low. So right now, I always tell agents that are like newly licensed and they're like, they're really struggling, they're kind of discouraged. I'm like, look, if you can survive, if you can sell a couple houses in this market, you are going to be ready to thrive in any market. Think about it this way, okay? So let's think about it from the teaching standpoint, right? If okay, so like you've got your group of students, right? Whoever you're teaching, you've got this super super hard topic to teach, okay? Maybe if you're teaching third, fourth, and fifth graders, maybe it's long division. All right, that is so like, and really, why do we have to make it so difficult? Well, let's think about the tens and the no, dude, it's just division, okay? But and no, down to core, common core. All right, I get it, right? We're trying to raise problem solvers. Anyhow, okay, so you've got this really hard topic, and let's say that you go all in, right? You are researching, okay, what can I do to make this number one engaging? How can I deliver the best content? How can I make sure that they actually understand it and they're not just memorizing something to go forward, right? Okay. You're following me? All right. So that's the market right now. You're teaching the hardest freaking content right now. You have, students who don't speak the language of, where you are, so they've got this struggle, or maybe, their basic needs aren't met. And so you've got all these different obstacles that you have to go over. Well, what happens when you move on to a very non-challenging content? What happens when everyone who comes into your classroom is on grade level? They have excellent behavior. Their parents are super supportive. Like, how is that? It's easy, or it's easier, right? That's how real estate is right now. Right now, you are in the hardest market. It's super challenging, right? Tons of people are leaving real estate right now just because it's too challenging for them, right? And over the bin, right? Because we know things don't stay the same, right? It's not like, wow, it's always going to be like this. No, things change. There's the ebbs and flows, right? So, right on the other side of this tough market is going to be a market where you're going to thrive. Because if you can manage selling real estate, getting out there, hearing the no's, being challenged, if you can handle that, then when the market shifts, you're going to be super successful, right? Like, it's just like teaching. Guys, I got into real estate, number one, because I needed to make more money. Okay. At the end of the day, the amount of money, my income that I was making from teaching did not satisfy the bills that I had. And no, I was not living beyond my means. I have 4 children. Okay. When I was teaching, I started teaching in 2002, three, something like that. Okay, so I started teaching then, and was married, right? Dual incomes, got divorced, only one income, only a teaching income. So I started doing side jobs. I was cleaning houses, I was babysitting, I was tutoring, I was doing all these things to make up for, a single family income. Then I got married. Then we moved to Arizona, and Arizona was much more expensive as far as cost of living. So there was always something in the back of my head that was like, wow, I need to do something. Well, my husband, he was a real estate agent. And I was like, you know what? If you can do this, I can do this. We have very similar personalities. We're both extremely personable. We love to be around people. We like to meet new people. We like to talk, and we're hardworking. Guys, real estate requires also tough skin, thick skin, whatever, however you say that, tough and thick. Let's make it tough and thick, okay? But you really do need to have like this passion, right? And so, I hate to say what is your why, but my why was financial security. Okay? I was terrified that I was going to be in a position where I couldn't afford my home, or the clothes that my kids needed. Like, I was really worried that I wouldn't be able to do those things, right? As my kids were getting older, they're going off to college, like they need a car that's reliable, they need, whatever it is. And I was not in a position at the time to be able to help them with anything. Like, I was barely like surviving and staying above water myself. And so when I got into real estate, I was like, okay, I can do this. And guys, I'm going to tell you, it is not like selling sunset. It is so like unlike selling sunset. Okay. You get tons of no's. So if you're listening to this podcast right this very second, and you're in real estate and you're in the thick of it and you've had a bunch of no's, guys, guess what? It's not going to stay all no's. The yes is just around the corner. Fight for the yes. Okay. The no's going to come. All right. Go for no, because after a while, the no's are going to stop and now you're going to get yeses. The other thing that I want to tell you, especially if you're like newly kind of like into real estate, or you're really struggling, is right now is a great time to hone in on your craft. Okay. Attend some seminars, go to some webinars, find the people who are doing what you want to do, and follow every single thing that they do. I have so many partners in real estate that I'm like, whenever I get into that, like, oh, I'm not where I want to be. Like, this is not what I envisioned for myself. Like, I want to do more. Like, yeah, I've made 6 figures. I want to make 7. So what I have to do is I have to find the people who I'm partnered with who make seven figures. And then I'm going to do everything that they do. And I know that it's going to take a while, right? It's not going to be immediate success, right? Nobody has that. But I know that, guess what? They've already laid out the blueprint for me. So I don't have to reinvent the wheel. So one of my good friends, and I'm going to go ahead and name drop Gogo Bethke. If you do not follow her, please follow her. She is a wealth of knowledge. And so one of the things that her and I had talked about, I was like, look, I've got like my first goal was I want to make six figures, right? And when I say six figures, right, that could be anywhere from like 100,000 to 999,999, right? So my goal was I want to make $250,000 a year. That was my goal. I want to make $250,000 a year. If I make $250,000 a year, I will feel like I've been successful. And guess what? I did. And guess what else I did? I spent it. Because I always tell people, like, if you make a certain amount of money, you will spend it. So I went to her and I was like, look, I'm making money to sustain, but I want generational wealth kind of money. Like I want money where like I can really like change like my parents' life. Like I wanted to be able to give back to my family. I wanted to be able to provide for, my kids. I wanted to be able to make sure that like they're set up, if something should happen to me. And she was like, let's go. And she basically outlined everything. Like she looked at everything that I was doing, told me to make some changes. I made those changes. And guess what, guys? We're going to say within the next 2 years, I will have to change that intro that says into a six-figure income to a seven-figure income. It's not about what you bring to the table. It's how you come to the table. Do you come to the table already full? Like, dude, I'm full. Like, why'd you even come to the table then? Like, why'd you come to dinner if you already went through McDonald's and got you a Big Mac? Why did you do that? You need to come to a table where you're ready to be fed. You need to come to a table that has good stuff, right? You don't want to eat all that nasty stuff that's going to like clog your arteries and give you heart disease, right? You need to come to a table that's going to build your business, that's going to help you be successful no matter what market we're in. Guys, I want to thank you so very much for coming back to Teachers in Real Estate. I'm so excited about season 3. And yes, this is going to be a season where I get really real. Like I'm going to like pull the curtain back. We're going to talk about some stuff that like maybe a little challenging, right? Like you may be like, oh, I don't know. But guess what? That's what real estate is, right? It's about being real. Real estate, people who are successful in real estate know how to build relationships with other people. And that's what I want to do with you. So if you are listening, I would love to build relationships with you. Go to Instagram. My handle is Jackie Durbin AZ. That's JackieDurbinaz. Please send me messages. I've heard from many listeners who are super excited that they found the podcast, but I would love to connect with more of you. So if you're listening right now, snap that screenshot on your phone, put it on your story, tag me in it, and I would love to connect with you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. And keep in mind that teachers make everything possible. So go out there and make someone feel good today. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Peace and love. Bye.